Okay, good morning, everyone, and Chazak Baruch. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Wednesday morning as we are studying together Parashat Re'eh. Okay, my friends, please turn to chapter 13. Okay, there's a very interesting episode here called the Wayward City. Okay, let's read the psukim together. Chapter 13, pasuk 13. Ki tishma be'ahat arecha, if you will hear about one of the towns, asher Hashem Elokecha noten lecha. If you hear one day that one of the cities in Israel, one of the Jewish cities, yatzeu anashim bnei Belial, that some of the scoundrels amongst you have gone out, veyadichu et yoshvei iram lemor, and they convinced their entire city to say, Leilcha v'na'avda Elohim achirim, let us go serve other gods. Okay? So this is a city that's wayward, that you hear, unfortunately, the people of the city have gone to worship a different god, another religion. You investigate, v'darashta, and you inquire, and you find that it's true. What's the halacha? Very interesting halacha, and again, it needs to be understood. I don't want to spend time today understanding the halacha. I want to really move on to the end of the pasuk. But the halacha is, the Torah writes, Hakeh takeh et yoshevei ha'ir ahi lefi charif. The law is to kill the entire city. Haharem ota ve'et kol asher ba ve'et behemta lefi harif. Okay? All of the people in it, all of the animals are doomed to destruction. Ve'et kol shirala, and all the spoils burn. Okay? Do not use anything, don't take anything, right? Lo yidbak becha me'uma min acherim. Okay? Don't let anything be with you. Okay? Very interesting topic of here of a Ir Hanidahat. But what I want to focus on is the ending of this paragraph. And the pasuk says, V'natan lecha rahamim, and God will show mercy on you. God will give you compassion. V'natan lecha rachamim. Verichamcha. And then He will be merciful to you. Okay? So what does that mean? And there is a very famous and definitely worth studying together today, a Or HaChaim HaKadosh. Okay? So let us study the words of the famous Rav Haim ben Attar from Morocco. Okay? Rav Haim ben Attar, Or HaChaim, on these words, V'natan lecha rahamim. And let us read and explain, because my friends, this is very, very powerful. Okay? Very, very powerful. Kavanat ma'amar zeh. The meaning of this, since God is commanding the city, commanding the people of Israel regarding this city, to wipe them all out. The Torah is telling us that we have to destroy a city. That's not an easy thing. Think about what that means. You're killing people. You're killing people. But that is what the Torah says. Now again, understand it, don't understand it. Why? Okay, we could study that one day. But the bottom line is that this is the commandment to kill the entire city, right? And again, it's not practical today. We don't have this concept today anyways. But what is the point? What is the lesson? Afilu behemtam, even the animals you're killing, right? What did animals do? But bottom line, you're killing. Ma'aseh hazeh, you need to know that this act of killing, yolid teva achzariyut belev adam, is going to affect your nature. Your actions affect your emotions. That's something very important that we need to know, is a truism. And that is that in life, sometimes our emotions begin on the inside and they manifest outside. Sometimes the opposite. Sometimes the more you do something, the more it's going to start to change how you think and what you believe. If you value honesty, but you do dishonest things, slowly, your nature will become a dishonest nature. Okay? And this is a very, very important idea, by the way, to realize that the things that we do impact the way we feel. And if I am feeling in a certain way, and Ramchal discusses this in his chapter called Zerizut, in his book Mesilat Yesharim, Rav Moshe Chaim Lotzato says, what do I do if I'm not excited to go to shul? You're talking about Zerizut, you're talking about alacrity, you're talking about going quickly and not stalling and not procrastinating. And we had a class earlier this week about laziness, right? How do I work on my laziness? I'm not excited to go pray. I'm not excited to go learn. I'm not excited to go to the gym. I'm just not. I'm dragging my feet. How do I work on that? The answer is the way to work on the feeling. If you're not feeling excited, says Ramchal, the same way a person who is excited will run, the opposite is also true. If you run, you'll start to get excited. In other words, says Ramchal, sometimes you got to fake it till you make it. Sometimes the feeling, the actions on the outside could drive the emotions on the inside. Very, very important idea what Ramchal is saying. That means it's not always true that I have to feel something to start doing something. Sometimes the doing could lead to the feeling. If I don't like something, but doing it will start getting me to like it. If I don't love someone, right? What comes first, love or giving? Do I love you and therefore I give you? Says Rav Dessler, yes, but also, says Rav Dessler, the opposite. By giving, you'll start to love. Let me give you a little magic secret, okay, everyone? Think of someone that you're annoyed at. You're annoyed, and especially now in the summer, maybe multiple families moving into one home, and you're now spending the summer with a cousin or a relative or in-laws or, a sibling that you just, they irk you, right? And you're annoyed. I don't understand. They're so inconsiderate. Why does it have to be like this? Why can't they just do this? And they're kids, and right? And they're messy, and you're all annoyed. But says Rav Dessler, you're annoyed. You don't like them. Let me give you a little tip. Do for them a chesed. Do for them a kindness, and see how quickly that hatred leaves your heart. You don't like your brother. He's annoying you. Call your brother up when you're in Walgreens and say, hey, I'm in Walgreens. Is there anything I can bring you home? You're annoyed at your in-laws. You're annoyed at maybe a cousin that you're sharing, right? You're annoyed at a roommate. Call up and say, hey, I'm going to play basketball. You want to come? What? I got to invite them to a basketball game? The answer is yes. And you'll see magic instantly by giving. And by the way, how do you say to love in Hebrew? Love is ahava. In Arabic also, aheb, right? Ahebbak, I love you. And what is the root of that word ahava? Have, heb. Heb is actually a Hebrew word for give. Havili, right? Jibli in Arabic. Tavi, give. Give me. The way to love is to give. When I start to give, I start to love. If I start to give a cause, my time, right? Why is it that we love our children? We love our children for two reasons. Number one, we have a natural love that we have, but we also have given them for so many years that we have a deeper love, right? We have a deeper love. Okay, that is something that's very important to remember. That's something that's very important to realize, that by doing the things, that by doing outward things, it's going to affect my nature. If I'm not happy, okay, if you're not happy, if you're a little bit down, what could you do to help yourself? What could you do to change that? Something very simple. You ready for this? Very simple. Smile. Right now, try it. Okay? Everyone, seriously. Give me a genuine smile if your video is on. And if your video is not on, then give your camera off a genuine smile. Okay? And automatically, it's the weirdest thing, you're just happier. Sometimes the outside could change the inside just by smiling. Just by smiling. Maybe you've ever seen someone angry, right? If you ever went maybe to an office and the secretary was maybe annoyed, or just it's late in the day and they're just in a bad mood, right? Or maybe a bus driver, just smile. And it's crazy to see how sometimes a smile, hey, good morning, changes someone's mood, right? That's a very beautiful, by the way, important to know husband and wife also. Your husband is wired. They're stressed. There's a lot on their plate. Sometimes all you need is a little smile and a thank you. You don't got to be Dr. Phil. You don't got to know a lot of therapy. You just got to smile and say, thank you for all the work lately. I noticed you've been doing a lot. Thank you. Smile. How powerful is that? Right? So what we do 100% affects how we think. If a person is going to do cruel, violent things, it's going to make him more violent. Okay? I mean, there's what to say about all of these video games and letting kids play video games that is all about killing and is all about stealing. Right? Don't tell me that that's not going to change how you think, how you look at violence. It affects. 100% it affects. Okay? I'm not saying that you should, take away the video games. Maybe you should speak to someone who's more expert than me. But the point is that the things that we do are going to affect how our nature. If I spend my whole life shorting stocks and my parnasa is such that I make money when other people lose money, and I'm excited for the stocks to go down, don't tell me that's not going to affect my nature. That affects your nature, says Orach Chaim. That affects your nature. You need to know that. And here, look what's going on. You have a person who's commanded to kill his city. That's the mitzvah. Go out and wipe out the city. Right? Yolid teva achzari yud belev adam. That's going to instill in the person a cruel nature. It's going to make this person live more cruel, more murderous. You just killed. That's going to affect you, whether you like it or not. Just like he says, the Yishmaelim have told us that the king commanded them to go out and kill, and what ends up happening is they end up getting a desire to kill. The more you do it, the more that becomes your nature. Right? And he says, at a certain point, we become just ruthless. We become ruthless. When you're doing something, it just affects you. When you're a soldier, think about a soldier. Even a soldier in Israel who's fighting to protect and mitzvah, but at the end of the day, you're killing. That's going to affect the nature of that soldier. Right? Our brothers and sisters living in Israel. Right? You could say what you want, but at the end of the day, they're living in this tense environment. There's rockets, and right? In Israel, a little kid is taught, if someone hits, you hit back. Right? In school, if someone hits you, you hit back. That's the world they live in. That's the nature. That's the only way to survive. Right? In America, if someone hits you, you tell your kid, call a lawyer. You know what I mean? Right? That is what they do over here. Right? If someone hits you, you file a lawsuit. But in Israel, that's the nature. And again, you could like it, you could hate it, but this is the reality of the world that they live in. When you're forced to go to the army and you know that that's going to be, and your parents went to the army, and that's the mentality, that affects the nature. There's Rabbi Y.Y. Jacobson has a great joke that I heard. This guy's in the airport, and he's waiting to board his flight, and he sees a flight attendant, and he wants to maybe get her number. She's a pretty lady. So he decides to pick her up with a line. He wants to use an airline line to try to pick her up, to get her number. So he starts guessing what airline could she work for. So he's thinking maybe she's United. So he says, me and you, we could be United. And she looks at him with this ugly look. He says, okay, not United. Maybe she works for American Airlines. And he says, we could fly higher and better. And she looks at him with an even dirtier look. And then finally he says, okay, not American. Maybe she's JetBlue. And he says, whatever JetBlue's line is, the best comfort in the sky. And she gives him an even a nastier look. And finally she just says, you're disgusting, you're rude, you're perverted. He goes, El Al. Okay. Not me, not my joke. Okay, but bottom line, says the Orach Chaim, you need to realize that you are killing people. It's going to affect your nature. Okay? It's going to affect your nature. ונכרתה מהם שורש הרחמים והיו לעזר. And therefore, person who kills the ir nidachat becomes more cruel. So what does God say? ונתן לך רחמים, הבטחה, I promise, שייתן להם השם רחמים, that God's going to give you mercy. Hagam, even though usually the teva, your nature, you'll lead by machzariyut, by killing, it should make your nature more cruel. But makor rachamim, the source of mercy, which is God Himself, Lord Almighty, yashpia bahem koach rachamim, will do a one-time gift and give you mercy. He'll do magic and give you, even though your nature should have become more cruel, He'll give you a more merciful type of nature. Lebatel koach achzariyut, to undo what that act of killing did to you. That act of killing, what it did to your psyche, what it did to your nature, God's going to, as a gift, because you were doing a mitzvah by killing, God's going to undo it. And realize what's being said over here. Realize what's being said over here. And the next word, ve'natan lecha rachamim verichamcha. And what does that mean? And therefore, God is going to give you mercy in return. He's telling us, shekol zman sheha'adam hu begeder teva achzari, so long that a person has a cruel nature, kemo ken, so too yitnaheg Hashem imo, God will be cruel with you. If you are cruel, God will be cruel with you. She'en Hashem merachem ela lerachman, God cannot be kind unless you are kind. Realize what's being said over here. That Hashem is going to come down and change the nature of this person who killed. And he killed why? He killed as a mitzvah. God commanded to kill. But because you killed, you now became more cruel. And therefore, because you are more cruel, God has to be cruel to you. And therefore, God's going to come down and make you merciful so that He can be merciful to you. This is wild. Do we hear what's being said over here? Why is this guy, why is he being punished? Why are you punishing him? He was forced to kill. He's forced to be cruel. Well, you can't just reward the guy and just be merciful anyways. The answer is, God's not mercy to those who are merciful as a reward. It's not a reward. There are physical laws of nature and there are spiritual laws of nature. And one of the spiritual laws of nature is midah keneged midah. The reason God is kind to those who are kind is not a reward. The reason God is cruel to those who are cruel is not a punishment. It's the way the world works. The reason when I put my hand in fire, I get burned is not a punishment. If a kid puts his hand in a socket and he gets electrocuted, he doesn't get electrocuted as a punishment. No one's punishing him. It's a reward. It's a consequence. It's a law of nature. This is a consequence. This is how things work. It's a cause and effect. This is how it has to be. God created the world in a way where if you are cruel, you will receive cruelness. Even though you were forced to be cruel. You didn't have a choice. You come and say, Rabbi, what should I do? There's this city. Rabbi says, you have to go and kill them. You're going out and you're killing the city not by choice. But bottom line, you just became more cruel. And therefore, God has to come and make you merciful so that now He can give you mercy. It's an unbelievable Orach Hayim HaKadosh, my friends. Because in life, the way you are is how Hashem will be with you. Hashem tzilecha aliyad yeminecha. God is the shadow. Whatever we do, God does. Not as a reward, not as a punishment. It's a law of nature. Kol ha-merachem ala beriyot, whoever is merciful, merachamim alav, will be merciful from the heavens. That's not, again, a reward or a punishment. That's just a rule. That's how it has to be. That's the way it is. So realize what's being said. That if we are someone who we're very, this is how we are. This is my nature. That's fine. But realize this is how God is going to be with you. You have the keys. I want to tell you a Gemara in Masechet Rosh Hashanah. The Gemara tells us there was once a famine, there was a drought, they didn't have rain. So they summoned the biggest rabbis to try to pray to bring rain. First rabbi up, Rabbi Eliezer. He gets up and he prays for rain, nothing. Prays and cries and yells, nothing. Okay? Next up, Rabbi Akiva. Now remind you, Rabbi Akiva was not always Jewish. He comes from Gerim. He didn't have the greatest of status maybe, but he was still a big rabbi. So they invite Rabbi Akiva. And all of a sudden, Rabbi Akiva says, Avinu Malkeinu, boom, 2 words, showers, pouring. Now, you can imagine how embarrassed Rabbi Eliezer was, first of all, right? And you can imagine what everyone started thinking in their head, right? I'm subscribing tomorrow to Rabbi Akiva's YouTube channel. You know what I mean? Who needs Rabbi Eliezer? His prayers didn't get answered. Must be. Rabbi Akiva is a greater rabbi, right? That's what people started saying. And it says the Gemara, a voice from the heavens came and said, not true. Not necessarily is he greater than him. It could be they're equal. But the reason we answered and we listened to Rabbi Akiva is because he is ma'avir al midotav. He forgoes. He forgives. When people step on him, he's, like we say in Arabic, khafif. He lets it go. He's soft, right? You have some people like earth, soft earth and hard earth. Some people are like hard earth. They're stubborn. They're very strict. They're very tough. Nobody cross me, and it's fair. And if I did an hour of service, I expect an hour back. And they're keeping calculations with their wives of how much they're giving to their spouse and how much their spouse is giving back. And this week they're keeping a chart. I did right. They're keeping score. I did this. I did this amount for you. What'd you do for me? Right? Some people are very like that. Okay. Well, Rabbi Akiva, says the Gemara, was not like that. Rabbi Akiva, okay, it's okay. I cleaned up yesterday, I'll clean up again today. You're right, you should have cleaned up. What big deal? You're right, I took out the trash, you should have taken it out. I'll take it out again. You took it out Monday, all right? Okay, I'll take it out again Thursday. Okay, fine. Really, it was your turn. But you know what? Yeah, we had a deal. I would do this and you would do that. And I did mine and you didn't do yours. But it's okay, I could do yours too. I have the time. Right? Some people, they live on principle. Rabbi, it's not about the trash, it's about the principle. Because if you do it, they take advantage and they start getting used to it and they get a habit. Okay? Rabbi Akiva, he had one thing that Rabbi Eliezer didn't. He was, right, mevater. He let it go. He let it go. So let's repeat the Gemara one more time because you're going to find there's a problem with the Gemara. Rabbi Eliezer gets up to pray and he doesn't get answered. Rabbi Akiva gets up to pray and he does get answered. Everyone thinks Rabbi Akiva is the greater rabbi. A bat kol comes and says, no, he's not necessarily greater. He just is a little bit more forgiving. Okay. So if he's a little bit more forgiving, then he's the greater rabbi. Right? If he has a little bit of a better trait, then that makes him bigger. What does the Gemara mean? He's not necessarily bigger. Imagine I say, Mina Chamovaria, he's not greater than me. He just learns 17 more hours a day than I do. Yeah, so that's literally why he's greater. The moment, if you're equal and then the other guy one-ups you, then he becomes greater. Yeah? You hear the question, Zuri? What do you think? I think it's a good question. Right? So let me tell you how I think this Gemara has to be understood. Rabbi Eliezer, why was he tough? He was tough not by choice. Rabbi Eliezer had to be tough. Rabbi Eliezer, the Gemara says, was Shamuti. That means he was from the school of Shammai. Shammai and Hillel, the famous machlokets always, they usually boil down to the fact that Shammai, his way of understanding the best way to serve Hashem was through deen, strict, tough, discipline. That's the best way to serve God. That's what Hashem wants from us when trying to figure out halacha. Yeah? Hillel was the opposite. Hillel said, no, the best way to serve is through rachamim, through mercy, through compassion, through forgiveness. And that's why many of the machlokot, you find that Shammai is a little bit more strict than Hillel. Right? What are you allowed to use? Shammai requires something more. Hillel is more lenient. Usually Hillel is more lenient. Right? Why? Not because Shammai as a person was more tough. As a person, Shammai was the nicest guy. As a human being, Shammai was soft as butter. As a human, as an individual, one-on-one, you spoke to Shammai, you love the guy. Yeah? You ever read Pirkei Avot? Pirkei Avot, it says one line, make sure to receive everyone with a smile. You know who wrote that line? Shammai. Shammai is the one who said, Shammai was smiling, he was laughing, he loved you. Shammai, the reason he was tough was not because he was personally tough. He was tough because that's what he believed was the correct approach to arrive at halakha. He believed that that's what Hashem wanted as far as policy. Policy, what's the best policy for the country? Doesn't necessarily mean what do I believe as a human being to act as an individual. Sometimes as an individual, I'm very generous, right? But as a policy, what's the best policy for the country? Policy for the country is sometimes you need to be a little bit more tough, maybe, in taxes, right? Less tax. Again, I'm giving you an example. Right? I don't believe the best policy for the country is that you should only lower taxes, but as an individual, I give 40%. Right? Shammai was Din. And his student, Rabbi Eliezer, believed that as a student of Shammai, that's the right way to serve God. And therefore, when you find Rabbi Eliezer being stubborn, it's not because he was personally stubborn, but he had to be stubborn because this is what Hashem wants me to do. I'll give you an example. The most famous machloket in probably Tanakh, in Gemara, was the machloket between Rabbi Eliezer versus everyone else. And I mean everyone else, right? There was a machloket on a certain oven, if it's tahor or tameh, without going into the detail. Rabbi Eliezer held one thing and everyone else held something else. Rabbi Eliezer is bringing proof after proof after proof his way, and everyone's arguing on him. No, it's not the case, it's not the case, it's not the case. And finally, Rabbi Eliezer decides to summon his Harry Potter magical wand, his powers. He says, you know what, if I'm right, let the river prove it. And the river starts flowing backwards. And Rabbi Yoshua, who presents the other side, said, sorry, no proof from rivers. He said, if I'm right, let the carob tree prove it. And the carob tree starts lifting up and flying. And Rabbi Yoshua says, sorry, don't bring carob trees. And he says, if I'm right, let the walls of the synagogue prove it. And the walls of the Bet Midrash start caving in. And Rabbi Yoshua got up and says, walls don't get involved. And then the bat kol, a voice from the heavens. I mean, what do you want more? A voice from the heavens came out and said, Rabbi Eliezer is right, guys. Rabbi Yoshua said, Lo b'shamayim. Sorry. Not in the heavens. Not up to you, God. Can you imagine telling God it's not up to you? And Rabbi Eliezer, give in, man. Let up. You got the majority. But that was his philosophy. My rabbis, Shammai, taught me the way Hashem wants for me is to hold on to my opinion. Now again, with his wife, in his personal one-on-one life, at home, his wife stepped on him maybe, whatever she wanted, he gave in. But as an approach to life, this is how it has to be as far as policy. And therefore, that's what the Gemara is saying. Lo shezeh gadol mizeh. It's not that Rabbi Akiva is greater than Rabbi Eliezer. As individuals, one-on-one, maybe they're equal. But still, Rabbi Eliezer in general, his policy is such that he is more tough. So that's how we have to be with him. We have to be more tough. Not as a punishment. This is how it has to be. This is the laws of nature. And Rabbi Akiva, a student of Hillel, he is more giving, and therefore we can be more forgiving. Again, he's not greater than him. As far as who they were, this is how. So what do you see from here? Again, the point I'm trying to bring out is that sometimes, even though Eliezer is forced to be like that, because that's the policy that he was raised with, and even though you're forced to kill a ir nidachad, because that's what the Torah says to do, but bottom line, you're doing something cruel, whether you like it or not. And therefore, you are going to receive cruelness in return. And the only way to go around that is God is going to come as a gift and give this warrior, give this soldier, rachamim, verichamcha. And now, once I make you merciful as a gift, I will now be able to give you mercy in return. It's an unbelievable thing. It's an unbelievable thing. And we know, right? We just finished Tisha B'Av. We know that after Galut, all the children went into Galut, and one by one, the forefathers and the mothers came and begged Hashem, please take them out, forgive them. And one by one, God had to say, no, I'm sorry, Abraham, I can't, Yitzchak, no. Until comes along who? Rachel Imenu. And she cries, and God says, okay, fine. For you, I'll take them home. Rachel Imenu, I mean, she's good, but is she bigger than Abraham? And the answer is Lo mipnei shezeh gadol mizeh. It's not because she's greater. She's not necessarily greater, but she does have one thing that she did. She let it go. She had the right to demand Yaakov as a husband, but she let it go. She allowed her sister to take advantage. She let her sister take him. And being mevater, you are forcing God's hand. Isn't that amazing? We could kind of manipulate how God is going to act. We have the keys. It's up to us how God will act. It's in our control. Whatever you want God to do, you just need to do first. And you could choose. Do you want to be stubborn? You have the right. Rabbi, it's fair. Why? I should be a doormat? I should let everyone step on me? 100% not. You're right. You could demand fair. You want justice? You want to keep score? You want to keep a tally? You want people, and you want it to be exactly, and you have your side of the bed, I have my side of the bed, I did exactly 3 things, you do exactly 3 things, 100%. You want to act like that, you're allowed. But just realize that you make your bed, you sleep in it. Realize that you're setting yourself up to receive the same exact treatment from God. And are you okay with that? Do you want that? When someone comes to you and embarrasses you, when someone comes to you and hurts you, when someone, accuses you of something and you're innocent, you have 2 choices. Option number 1 is you could demand justice and stand up and what are you talking about and put them in their place 100%. And option number 2, when someone yells at you and criticizes you and hurts your feelings, option 2, instead of focusing on your pain, is smiling and realizing, wow, I have this amazing opportunity right now in my hands, that I can become a mevater, that I can become someone who forgives. And by forgiving, I have the keys of anything I want in my hands. By forgiving, I can have the power to bless, I have the power to pray, I have the power to ask. The moment I forgive, I am forcing God's hand to forgive me. And now when I ask from God something, God can't say, but you don't deserve, because I could just shoot it right back and say, yeah, but God, you know what? I'm not playing the deserve game. Because deserve, I also could have done X, Y, and Z. But I'm not going deserve. I'm doing better than deserve. I'm going above and beyond. And if I'm going above and beyond, God, you have to go above and beyond. So realize you have a choice. Focus on your pain or smile and say to the person who offended you, thank you, sir. Give him a kiss. Because this person, by offending you, is now giving you the key to be the most powerful blesser in history right now. You could ask for whatever you want. They just flew you private straight to Israel, to the Kotel, first class. You're standing in front of the Kotel, and you could ask for whatever you want. You gotta say thank you. The guy flew you first class in 1 second to Israel. Usually you gotta fly 10 hours to get to Israel. Now you're there in a second. Thank you. You saved me from all the luggage and the schlep, and now I'm standing in front of the Kotel and I can pray whatever I want. Thank you. So do we want to be like Rabbi Eliezer or like Rabbi Akiva? And again, you have the right. It doesn't make us less or more. We can still be great people. You can be great and fair. That's fine. But this is how it will be in return. And this is, I think, such a valuable weapon to have as we are entering, my friends, the month of Elul, the month of forgiveness, where we're going to ask Hashem for forgiveness. We're going to ask Hashem for a year. This year we want it to be better than last. We want this year to be a year of blessing, a year of parnasah, maybe if it wasn't so good last year. We want it to be a year of shalom, maybe that our children should be more connected to Hashem and going in the right path. We want it to be a year of all the good things, right? We want it to be a year of shalom bayit, right? Of patience, better midah. We want it to be a year of health, right? We want it to be a year of shidduchim, hajj already, praying every year for the shidduch. We just want it to be over. We want to pray next year for not a shidduch, but for children, right? Or if we're struggling with children, we want that to be, right? We want an amazing Rosh Hashanah. But if we want all of those things, we have to realize that the key's in our hands. Because we don't want God to say to us, well, I would love to give it to you, but you don't deserve. Because God may say that. But there is a way of circumventing that. There is a way of skipping the line. Yeah, the easy pass. The way to get whatever we want is by realizing, you know what? I want God to forgive me, and I have to forgive others. and I can't be stubborn. And on the principle, and Rabbi, I can't. It's enough already. It's true. It's hard. The summer, many people living in one house, and maybe you're already hedged, and you can't wait for September to come along. Maybe, right? It's true, but it's a beautiful opportunity to work on our forgiveness. It's an awesome experience, my friends. And when we act like that with others, when we could show rachamim to others, then verichamcha, and God in return can be rachamim to us. Be'ezat Hashem, we should be zocheh to receive kindness for the kindness that we give, and have all our tefillot answered. Letovah, amen. Okay, we'll stop over here, everyone. Have a wonderful day, and hopefully we'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.